The thing that trips me out is obviously we never got to witness Atlantic City as it was, but like there was a point in time, and you could like talk to my grandmother about it. Like Jordan's mom even remembers she worked in Atlantic City. It was like bigger than Vegas. It was like the thing. Atlantic City was the spot, and like it's hard to think back, but gambling wasn't legal in the whole United States.
That's true.
There was just certain areas where you could gamble. And people would come from all over the world to visit Atlantic City, New Jersey. Now look at that place.
Just to pull slots.
To pull slots,
Isn't
dude.
that
And
and smoke cigs and just hammer slots. Think about that.
But dude, there's so much good history in Atlantic City. It's unbelievable. They made an HBO or a Showtime TV show about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to think about. Monopoly is based off of Atlantic City, New Jersey, dude. That's town
true.
over there, right over there. Everybody knows what Monopoly
I always forget about Monopoly that it is based off Atlantic City.
Isn't that crazy? Boardwalk.
It's just and
Marvin Gardens, dude. It's right there.
Is that where it is?
Marvin Gardens.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, dude, it's historic.
I have to like look back at the board again.
Dude, it's historic.
It's just a shame because it feels like we were kind of comparing it to where it could be like a Asbury. Well, not compared to Asbury, but that's almost like what it needs. And you were kind of telling me that there already are people sort of
allegedly
trying to come in and sort of. You need like some youth in there, like where people are, or like some like youth as in like young adults.
Yeah. Well,
to come in and sort of change the vibe because it could be such a sick seaside like beach town, like city with like that has like a city vibe as opposed to just like what we're used to, these barrier island like.
Yeah. Well, it's like, when stuff gets so, like they always say that things get so crazy that they become a parody of themselves. Like Atlantic City was so known for that Vegas vibe that it almost just, it became like a joke on its own self. Because, like, when we were kids, my parents, or my dad, and, like, we had this family down the street, the Doherty family, and Joe Doherty and my dad were, like, buddies, and they would take us surfing in Atlantic City. Early mornings, they'd be driving down the strip, and they'd be like, look, that's a hooker. Look, that's a prostitute. Look, that's a drug dealer. Look at these people. Look at these nightlife people still out, because it's, like, 5 a.m. And, like, what's wild is that was, like, a highlight of my childhood.
To see that
driving through Atlantic City and being
so
like,
amazing.
My dad being like, dude, that's a prostitute right there. And we're like, what's that? But there's so much, and I don't know if it's just because we're older, we're getting to be middle-aged or whatever, but dude, Atlantic City had a full-blown surf scene when I was a kid.
Well, yeah, and I feel like I kind of vaguely remember it because my dad would take us up there to surf too as kids, but I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
Like it was more like we were the outsiders coming in, but
yeah, and I guess there's still kind of a scene at like South Carolina Avenue. There's people that surf like crystals.
Strictly surf AC, like an AC crowd.
Yeah, like they're mostly Margate guys, but like people love it up there. But when I was a kid, like there was people that like lived in Atlantic City, like rented in Atlantic City to like live that surf lifestyle. And that, I feel like, is done. And I also feel like there was hype. I mean, just before I forget, I just want to mention the diving horse, though. Do you know about that?
No, why does that sound familiar?
They used to have a horse in, like, the 1910s that would...
Oh, that would jump off the...
That would jump off Steel Pier. Yes. And it was the diving horse, and people would come from all around to watch this horse run and dive off the pier.
That was, like, Boardwalk Empire days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then...
I guess that became not probably ethical.
Yeah, but still, it's like that. It's crazy, man. Like there's also like 1916. You could probably look this up. I think it's 1916. Duke Kahanamoku came to the East Coast on a freaking steamboat.
Come surf.
And introduced surfing to the East Coast in Atlantic City, New Jersey in 1916. Like after he won the Olympic swimming gold medal.
I wonder what the vibe was as far as like, did people even know who this guy was, or was it more like,
well, the good thing
because there was such a beach, like since everything was obviously, I'm sure, much smaller, like him coming to town was just kind of like an event in itself. Like nowadays, if that happened, would people be like,
well, this actually kind of feeds into what I was trying to get at. But like, I feel like back then, right, like 1916, they're like, come meet the world famous Duke Kahanamoku, introduce surfing to the East Coast in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Big event. I bet the beach was packed. I bet the boardwalk was packed.
That's what I'm saying. Cause it was like, that was probably huge. This guy from Hawaii is coming here. Like,
And like nowadays, you try to do anything, people are just like, all good, I'm not going. But I mean, dude, when I went surfing in Nebraska at the wave pool, like and since then I've found like way more legitimate waves in Nebraska. But when I went surfing in Nebraska at the wave pool, like I contacted the water park. They said, yeah, we can give you a couple hours. Dude, I'm telling you, summer camps, camp counselors, employees of the water park, like people came to just watch someone surf at the water park, and it was kind of like that vibe. I was like, this is crazy.
This was like something for them. It was an event for them.
It was an event for them to just see someone surf in Nebraska.
That's pretty cool.
Well, like back then, like, seeing Duke surf in Atlantic City was probably a crazy thing.
Well, no one had probably even seen surfing at this point.
Yeah, and I don't think it probably wasn't about till like the mid 1960s that surfing really caught on in New Jersey. So it's kind of crazy to think about that.
Was he by himself, or do you know
I don't really know, but I've looked up the information.
That's crazy.
There's stuff on it for sure. I might as well just Google it while we're at it.
I'm gonna grab my coffee.
Yeah, have at it, buddy. I wonder if there's like an old flyer. East Coast Surfing Hall of Fame.
There's got to be something.
Okay, so Duke won the gold medal in the 100-meter freestyle swimming event in 1912. Duke stopped off on the East Coast to give swimming demonstrations, but in the waves of Atlantic City at New Jersey's famous Steel Pier. He showed off skill far truer to his heart and heritage. It just so happened that the East Coast Hall of Famer, Sam Reed, was just 7, standing on the boardwalk. Duke rode a few small waves to the cheers of Reed and fellow spectators. Many years later, Reed would recall that Duke, looking like a statue of Poseidon. After Atlantic City, Duke traveled to New York's Rockaway Beach and Coney Island, where he performed more surfing demonstrations. So it was 1912. So he was here promoting swimming after winning the Olympics, and he ended up doing surfing demonstrations. That's killer.
That is really cool.
That is so sick.